Welcome to Sustainable Success. Hope everybody is having a great week. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Again, if you are new to Sustainable Success, we are now here on the Libsyn platform. Yes, we've moved over from the Voice America, which we still at Voice America, but our business channel now sits on the Libsyn platform. So again, feel free to go to our new URL to check out where the site, where all the shows are now, where you can listen to them anytime. In addition, you can listen to our show on Spotify, Apple, and also, as usual, our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. There we've had many of our great guests sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate your level of success and business to the next level. And again, if you would like to hear future content that we have not shared that would be applicable to your business or personal endeavors, feel free to reach out to us here at the Sustainable Success team at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's chris@sustainablesuccess.net. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, this is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. No more of those noisy notifications. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic connections with the people you choose to interact with, including content. Again, this could be for fraternities, sororities, your alma mater. It could be for whatever that case may be. They even have a professional athletes corner for those athletes that are transitioning from the professional sport into everyday life, maybe a new job, a new franchise, a new business. Yes, there's a place for you here as well. And they also have a podcast to support it called From Athletes to Entrepreneurs. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show again, as usual. We're going to be talking about the power of focus, unlocking your full potential. Now, this is going to be for you, the CEOs, the business owners, any high performance leader, producer. We sometimes we think we're operating at our full potential, but we might be shocked to know that we're not if we're not fully focused. Well, we're going to be hearing about how we can go about doing that today. More importantly, to make 2025 your year. And we're here with Andy Goldstrom. He's the founder of Midcourse Advisors, a rapid growth coaching, speaking, consulting company for business owners, entrepreneurs, and executive leaders. As a two-time Inc. 500 business owner, Andy has leveraged his experience to create a proven set of tools and methodologies to help small to mid-sized business leaders focus on the right approach to scale their businesses, grow rapidly, and avoid costly mistakes. Now, early in Andy's career, he started and built a division of a real estate brokerage company that generated 30% plus margins and grew from 1 to over 500 employees. After that, he took over an existing national recycling company and grew the top line from 70 mil to 100 mil and profit from 10 mil to 17 mil in 3 years. Both businesses were designated as Inc. 500 companies, the fastest growing privately held companies nationwide, and subsequently sold to Fortune 500 companies at high multiples. Before launching Midcourse Advisors, he served as global director at a major investment bank where he grew service capabilities over 70 countries while saving 12 mil annually. Now, I could keep going on and on and on because there's so many things that Andy does. He's also does adjunct work for Georgia State University. He's been involved in numerous other events as a speaker, including at the Kettering Executive Network, UConn School of Business, Cornet Global, and the list goes on. And all the contact information for Andy will be available here in the show notes here on the Libsyn platform. And without further ado, we welcome Andy Goldstrom to the show. Andy, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thank you for being here, and it's such a pleasure. So, let's talk a little bit about, focus. Andy, so many business owners and high performers, you always pride themselves that, hey, my success has been based upon my commitment, my dedication, and so-called level of focus. But are they really as focused as they could be? And I guess before we talk about focus, maybe we should talk about what are some of the things that could be without maybe them knowing, or maybe just not, this is not in the forefront of their minds at this point. What could be now distracting them from being more focused to take their business to that next level?
Sure. Well, there are a lot of things that can distract you from your focus. And certainly in today's world, there are a lot of shiny objects. There are a lot of things online. There are a lot of people who will put ideas in your head. And at the end of the day, you only have, 168 hours in a week. And
Yep.
so it's what are you going to work on that actually moves the needle, that in real estate terms is your highest and best use. And what I work on with my clients is just three things at a time that will actually move the needle as opposed to what pops up next. Things that they're working on that really won't make a difference. And if you are able to channel that energy and act in the right way on those things that will actually move the needle in your business, your chances of achieving your goals are much higher. And, some people don't know what their goals are, and some people don't know how to achieve them and what the path is to achieve them. And, that's one of the things I really help business leaders achieve. And, that's why I have a job, frankly. I had a track record of doing that in my own in the businesses that I ran. And for the past, decade or so, I've been doing it, helping other businesses grow quickly based upon that focus.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about your personal experience. I guess why you are, amongst so many things that you do to help business owners. Now, this more on a personal level, and a professional level. What did it take for you to get focused back then? Like when you were running those companies that you took to, Inc. 500 level, and then eventually they were, I believe, purchased by Fortune 500 companies.
Sure. Well, I try to put myself out as a humble guy, and that's because after graduate school, I was really an account manager, project manager type. I was organized, I got stuff done, but I was never the sales guy. I didn't have the looks. I'm a bald guy. I'm not the most articulate guy in the world. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I always delivered. I always
Yeah.
did what I said I was going to do. And so that um, made me focus in order to be able to deliver what I said I was going to do. If I took on too much and couldn't deliver what I said I was going to deliver, that hurt my brand, that hurt my skills, that hurt what I was able to do. And as we grew the real estate firm um, that I was a part of, it was called USI, and it was purchased by Johnson Controls in 2005. And when we were growing that firm, we were competing against some of the largest firms out there, the CBREs, the Jones Lang LaSalles, the Cushman and Wakefields. Nobody heard of USI. And so we didn't get as many swings at the plate. We didn't get as many at bats. So um, because we weren't invited to the dance at times, we had to kind of network our way in or find a way in to get an opportunity. And so if we weren't focused on having a high batting average, we wouldn't have been in business.
Yeah.
And so we not only had to differentiate ourselves from a value proposition standpoint, it had to be from, finding the proper kind of client or prospect that we could actually really do well in terms of having an impact for them, having a good return for us, being able to leverage their brand based upon the kind of work that we do and everything like that. And, after that sale, I've taken that into other businesses where people maybe had a little bit more of an open door, but didn't have as high a batting average. And so
Yeah.
those lessons kind of carried over in terms of, pretend like you're not known, you know,
Yeah.
right? You're not up 10-0 in the fifth inning. It's 0-0. And in fact,
Exactly.
maybe you're behind. So that's really how it kind of developed. It was, a good learning experience as I grew that company. And and I've always had focus just because of the way I'm, the way I'm made up in terms of um, getting stuff done. Um, and I've always been data driven. I was a, my undergraduate was computer science. My graduate, I got an MBA, but I was always data driven. I
Yeah,
always, so if you make decisions based upon your gut, as opposed to trying to get the best information possible, it makes a difference too in terms of what you focus on. And we've talked about the acronym focus is, follow one course until successful. So
yeah,
it's don't do too many things that you don't do well. Do a few things well.
exactly. No, I love what you just said. And I love the fact that you're very task driven, Andy, and you use that. What I picked up, what you said, that discipline and being consistent to keep moving the ball forward, and that's where focus builds upon, at least in my experience, because somebody I can relate, being someone who was born with ADHD. I was born with ADHD, and I had to really learn how to meditate and journal. I had to learn all these things at 30 years old in order to become focused. Being focused was not an easy thing for me. So those things you just shared just like resonated with where it took me back like 26, 27 years ago when I began to make this shift where I had to say I had to be disciplined and consistent to do these things that normally I wouldn't be able to do. But if I don't do it and I don't discipline myself, then I'm the focus is always going to elude me. And so becoming focused was a process for me. And
Yeah.
so that's when you said that kind of reinforced that.
Yeah. Well, good for you for finding the tools and approaches that you
Yeah.
need to make it work for yourself. Everybody's got different levels of ability in different areas and different focuses. And if you have if you acknowledge that and have the ability to make that work, that's fantastic. And you talked about the tactics. The tactics are kind of the day to day, but the strategy is really what how you set up your business, how you manage your business, how you plan that enables you to kind of set the table for the day-to-day kind of stuff. And I'm kind of proud. I just got through reviewing all the January results with my clients in the past week, and they all exceeded their budgets. They're all on track for multiple double-digit growth if they continue doing the things that they're doing. And it's based upon having a business plan in place that's robust. It's about having a budget, and it's about having a 90-day plan where we focus in the first quarter on those things that are going to help set up the year.
Yeah.
And if you get those things in place, then you kind of already know what you're going to focus on. And then it's about scheduling your time, blocking your calendar, and making sure that you're working on the right things to actually move the needle each and every day.
Yeah. No, so true. Great information. And would you say that, like looking now at strategy, and I agree, and I know we're going to be coming to a break here soon. We can always discuss it also after the break. But what are you seeing right now? And we can talk a little bit after the break too. With these new like these millennials, even Gen Z, maybe some of these people might become now business owners sooner than later. But a lot of times they don't have attention to detail like say the older generation. And a lot of times doing a strategy or a business plan, it's kind of like and they just kind of shoot from the hip. I'm still old school, like where I believe in a strategy. I believe that you have to lay it out. You got to be able to visualize it, see it. Share with why that's important, and even for even these younger generation business owners, that why that's going to be important to keep them focused, to kind of muscle through the challenging times and the uncertain times to move their businesses forward.
Yeah. One of the reasons I taught and continue to teach is because my mother and sister are both teachers, and I saw the impact that they had. And when I had the ability to teach, I wanted to because I wanted to stay in touch with the younger generation to see what was next and what their needs are and what their desires are. And And I don't necessarily see that, even though there's more distraction with the phones that we didn't have when we were in school, and in general in our lives, I don't see that there's less attention to detail. I see that the barriers to entry for business are lower. So
Yeah.
you know, someone 20 years ago, if they were starting a software product, it would cost them six figures to do it between the hardware, the software, the marketing, the people. The studies have been done. Now you can just put up a website and you got a business. And so that doesn't mean that you're capable and understanding of how to do it, how to run a business. I think more
Yeah.
people previously were in the corporate world, would learn some things for a period of time and then maybe put up their own shingle at some point. And
Yeah.
so, you got people who are younger who are wanting to do their own thing, either because they want to tackle the world, they have an idea. So I just think um, their ability to focus is based upon, lack of experience, which is, where I can help people as well and work with young, talented folks. I work with a lot of people in professional services, lawyers, CPAs, financial advisors, real estate people, people in software development who have a certain skill set but haven't run a business. And, I've run $100 million businesses, so I've seen the movie.
Yeah. And know exactly. And a lot of times, like you said, they didn't go to school to run a business. They went to school to learn law. They went to school to know how to code, and or obviously crunch numbers for businesses and individuals. So yeah, absolutely. So if you can, Andy, as we head into the break, can you sum up just in general, from focus, like why this is so important in every level, every phase of growing a business? And if you could do it like 20 seconds or so, it's good.
It's really simple. Resources are finite. You have a certain amount of time and a certain amount of money and a certain amount of energy in order to be able to accomplish things, and other people are competing against you. So, you know, you can work harder, but unless you're focused, you can't work smarter. And so if you want to get ahead, focus is really a key to the mint.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is great stuff. Well, I know we got more to come here. We got to go to break, everybody, but we got more to come with Andy Goldstrom. When we come right back again, we're talking about the power of focus, unlocking your full potential, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Sustainable Success. We're talking with Andy Goldstrom, our subject matter expert on the power of focus, unlocking your full potential. Again, we encourage everybody to check out today's show. First segment was just powerful information, golden nuggets about how we can now go about developing better focus and actually sustaining it over time. And again, this is both on a personal and professional level and why it's so important. And even for you, those young business owners, those that are aspiring to now start businesses early rather than later, this is imperative. Why focus is going to take your business where you are to the next level. So Eddie, if you could share with the listeners right now, there are different phases of business development, growth, and talk a little bit about like the focus required for each of those areas. And I know you have four strategic shifts that are imperative to any business success. You could talk about that also on the back end.
Sure. Well, first, in our first segment, we really talked about how a business owner can be focused. And I thought that was a great discussion. But ultimately, people have teams. And the question is, how do you get your team rowing as fast and in the same direction you're rowing so they're as focused as you? And in the professional services area, it's all about the talent. And you're not making a widget, you're actually providing services. And so it's all about your team. And if your team feels like they have an impact, they know their reward, they know a path for growth, they tend to stick around and be loyal and do good work. And your team is actually typically the ones closest to the customer. Once you get to a certain level, if you're running your firm well, your firm isn't attached to you day to day. You're running the strategy of the business, the key accounts, some of the key initiatives. And so being able to make sure your team is focused is really important. And so some of that is being transparent. So it's actually sharing your business plan and your goals, maybe not all the details, but where, having strategy meetings with your leadership and certainly with lower levels to be able to allow them to understand what you're trying to drive. Why are you in business? What's your purpose? How are you trying to help people, and what kind of revenue number or growth are you trying to drive to? How many people are you trying to help? And what's it going to take? Right? And if there's measurement and KPIs around that are visible to people, then you can see what's required either to, continue to do the things that are being done because people can see it, or make adjustments along the way. The firm is called Midcourse Advisors because it's about the adjustments you make along the way during the mid-course, which is the middle phase of a rocket's journey. And so it's all those little adjustments that need to be made, and you can only do it if you have data, if you get feedback from your team, your customers, your partners, and others. And so focus just doesn't happen at the top. It really has to be an organizational priority. And the only way to do it is for everybody to know kind of where you're headed. We mentioned, you asked questions about the different parts of the business. You really have to be, when you're running a business, you really have to be astute at managing all the different parts. There are, 6 essential parts, and I'll go into each one briefly. But the reason they're essential is if you're only good at one thing or two things, and the other things aren't well run or run by somebody on your team, then it's like having a misaligned car, right? And after a while, your tire's going to blow out, or something, something's going to break. And so you have to have an understanding that a firm needs all of these things to be working together and working well. And it starts with the marketing. You need to know, how many clients you need based upon your average client value to be able to get to the revenue number that you want. So it's really about delivering the right number of the right kind of prospective new clients to the right place at the right time. And so if you're not astute at marketing, if you don't know what active marketing is, which is getting in front of people, referral-based speaking that you're so good at, going to networking events, leveraging other people's audience, doing podcasts like this, then that's the best way to generate good marketing leads, because it doesn't cost as much as going online. It just costs your time, essentially. and you get warmer leads as a result of those kinds of direct efforts. And you also, the best part is you get to test your message directly in the marketplace. If somebody doesn't like what you're selling, you're going to hear from them directly. If you go online and use a marketing company, that can work too. That costs some money. It takes time. You have to make adjustments. Um, um, that's more passive. At the end of the day, the clients that I work with that have grown past $1 million, we try and find a balance between the two so that you can cast a wider net with bigger holes in it, but also have the direct stuff that really makes a difference in your firm. And that allows you to predict where your revenue is coming from based upon your marketing efforts and where those leads are coming from. Then you have to be able to sell. You know, a lot of people who sell don't really know how to sell. You know, that's you really have to understand your client's problem and what the gap is and how you can solve that gap. And you can't do it by beating your chest and saying how great you are and how much experience you have. You really have to understand what the pain point is, um, what's getting in the way, why can't they solve it themselves, the impact of not solving it, and both qualitatively and quantitatively. And it could be financial, could be personal, it could be professional, it could be all of those things. And so sales training to be able to effectively listen and effectively sell and close the deal um, makes a big difference. And not everybody's good at that. Some people are good at inventing things or coming up with a service or an idea, but they're not good salespeople. And
Yeah,
sales is the most important thing you can do in business because you run out of cash, you're out of business.
exactly. You need revenue. You need
Yep. The
revenue, and better
third thing
yet,
is,
get revenue. You got to get the profit, and that in a healthy area. Well,
yep.
when you were just sharing, Andy, I had to learn the hard way myself many years ago, with focus, that how can I be focused on the things I'm really good at if I'm not delegating the things that are necessary to grow the business, but that's not my sweet spot.
Yep. So there are four more things that I'd like to touch on. I'll try and go
Yeah, please do.
quicker,
Yeah.
but you kind of teed me up in that the third thing is about production. So a lot of people who are in production, lawyers are, you know, producing the filing or mediating or doing whatever producing the estate plan, getting the personal injury result. They're in the day to day of what they need to do. CPAs are producing the tax returns. And what we do in the production area is determine what's the right repeatable process to drive efficiency. And so we look at what are the steps, who's doing it, and how much does it cost against what you're charging. And by doing that, you can see if your gross margins are enough to be able to carry your overhead. And so if you're spending too much time in the day-to-day operations and not in driving your sales and marketing or managing the other parts of the business, then you're probably not going to grow and scale because you only have so much time in the day. And so the more that you can delegate and push work down, as long as you're not sacrificing quality and drive efficiency in your product and your productivity, then you're great. Then you have to have the right people. We talked about having the right people and having them focused. It's making sure that you have the right team at the right price point, that you can bring on board internally and externally. Some people are not very good at hiring or finding people. Onboarding is a big miss. One of the things I get people to focus on because, when you have to replace somebody, it's very costly. Not just the difference in the cost, but the difference, you have a gap in delivery and then that person has to get back up to speed. And before they're profitable, you've taken quite a hit. And so if you hire the right people and treat them right, um, and give them, again, a path for success if they do the right work in terms of professional impact, um, and income and transparency and all the rest, then it works well. Then the last two things are just the physical plant. and the technology, making sure that you have the right infrastructure to make it work. Obviously, hybrid work and remote work. The pendulum is starting to swing back to getting into the office. It's being able to make sure you have the right situation where you have flexibility. I have a client who just was looking into taking over a new business that wasn't succeeding, where she could take over and succeed it, but they still had a 10-year lease left that she'd have to absorb, that would get assigned to her. And, her business is fairly new. That's a pretty big risk to be able to take, given the length of the term. So making sure that the terms, the flexibility, and the access for the employee and the customers, and the ability to do hybrid work all matters. And then the financial controls. People don't really understand cash flow and a balance sheet and a P&L and how to manage that against your budget day to day. One of the things that wakes people up is that they can tell me what a P&L is. They say it's a profit and loss and kind of measures things. And I'm like, okay. And they understand that cash flow may be what their checking account says for their business. Then they may or may not be sure what a balance sheet is, but that's ultimately what the health is of the business, assets and liabilities. But they don't understand how they're connected.
Yeah.
And the way that they're connected is, if you started a business today and your revenue in the first month was 50,000 and your expenses were 40,000, that 10,000 actually becomes, on a cash basis, that 10,000 actually goes from your net profit, from your profit and loss, into your uh, into the cash of your cash flow statement. So it's your starting cash, and then depending upon what you spend during the month for different areas, for operating, for debt, for investment, you end up with an ending cash balance, and that ending cash balance ends up goes into the asset portion of your balance sheet. So when people, at the end of the day, the balance sheet talks about your retained earnings and the value of the company, which leads to the value of the company, which is the most important thing that investors look at: the health of the company and what the retained earnings are. And so the P&L is really the tip of the spear. And so when you talk about achieving, on a cash basis or accrual basis, profit every month, that's why there's such focus on it and understanding how it connects. So if you're just trying to put cash in your pocket month by month, P&L is great. If you're trying to raise the value of your company so that you can take out a loan, you can uh, take more distributions out, you can sell your business in part or in whole. If you're taking on other partners and they're looking at your financials and saying, what am I getting as opposed to bringing to the table as well? There're just a lot of parts to it. And so understanding all that as an owner is really important. And then, understanding, different ratios and different ways to look at your financial health on a monthly basis is really an important thing. And so those are all the parts of the business, like I said. And if, hopefully I didn't bore people too much and go into too much detail,
No, not at all. No. Yeah.
but the idea is, you got to be good at all those things. You got to be able to ask the
Yeah.
right questions. You got to be able to delegate those things, in order for them to work well. And if one of those things isn't working well, your company could, have some challenges.
No, absolutely. How important is trust in this factor? Like, again, especially for a business owner that might have maybe been is a perfectionist and oftentimes had a hard time delegating the things that should be delegated, but had been still been caught up with it and not focusing on the things that really matter at his or her level to strategically move the business forward. Again, that going back to the focus again.
Trust is really important. But sometimes, um, doing 95% work, which is still an A, is good enough as opposed to 100%. And I'm not saying doing B work or C work, doing A work, but of course, most owners can do the work better themselves because they're taking the risk. They um, have the passion, they have the pride. But ultimately, once studies have been done, once you get past about three people in your organization, you've got to be able to delegate, and your communication channels have to change in order for you to grow. And so, what allows you to trust people? Um, um, Training, understanding their will and their skill and their capacity, and provide and acting on it. So don't give somebody something that they're not willing to do. Don't give somebody something that they don't have the capacity to do, because they'll drop the ball. And if they need training and they're not skillful enough, then they need that support. And some of it could be, you know, going on, you know, um, performing a service with somebody who's mentoring them, and recognizing that they know how to do it well. And then just being able to track the KPIs in terms of, are they billing enough? Is the quality of the work good enough? And you manage by exception by having the data in front of you in order to make that work. But I work with clients all the time who are, I can do it better myself. Well, great. Do you want to be an operator, or you want to be a leader? Do you want to be
Exactly.
rich, or do you want to be someone who's
Right.
busy? Right?
Yeah. No, you're so right. It's like, yeah, do you always have to be right? You got to, if you got, like you said, if you don't empower your team to step up and do the things that allow you to now to do what's best and necessary, then you're not, you're not gonna grow. You're just gonna get caught up in the routine things that other people could be doing for you.
When I moved from Connecticut to Atlanta in 1998, um, with the real estate company, I moved because the company was expanding, and I had lived in Atlanta before, and it was a personal opportunity, not just a business opportunity. And Delta Airlines became a big client. And
Yeah.
I launched that. We
Yeah.
became very profitable. We had a long-term relationship with Delta doing their real estate work, and it was
Yeah.
fantastic. But one day I woke up and I just said, is this going to be it? Meaning, is I'm going to be the Delta account manager, or am I going to grow this business in this region and beyond? And I knew that going in, that was what my intention was, but I had to get a competent account manager on the team in order to
To do
manage
it.
that business. And
Absolutely.
ultimately, that's what happened.
Great. Well, I know you got more to share, Annie. This is just again the tip of the iceberg, everybody. We got to go to break, but when we come right back, we got more to come on the power of focus, unlocking your full potential with Andy Goldstrom, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the power of focus, unlocking your full potential. We're here with Andy Goldstrom again. He is the founder of Midcourse Advisors. They do rapid growth coaching, speaking, and consulting for business owners, entrepreneurs, and executive leaders. Again, all the details are here in the show notes here on the new platform with Libsyn. Again, you can always we encourage you to also listen to us here on Spotify, Apple, including YouTube, and our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. Make sure just to follow us there. Make sure you get all the updates for all our future weekly shows that bring in subject matter experts like Andy in to share their words of wisdom, insights, and personal experience to help take your business to the next level. Our show again is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. As mentioned earlier, again, it offers now a professional athletes corner. Yes, for those professional athletes now transitioning into everyday life. That could be into buying a business, running a franchise. It could be maybe starting a new career, whatever it may be. Well, the good news, you don't have to do it alone. You can now interact with other types of professional athletes that are doing the same thing, and you can form groups that you can interact and share ideas, including videos, content of all types, in order to do so. Now, because it's a membership program, it takes, it does offer a wide array of different other services not available to the general public. If you'd like some more information about them, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. So, Andy, just powerful information that you've shared over the last two segments of the show. I know we didn't get a chance to get to the four strategic shifts to really take a business from where it is to that next level and beyond. Let's talk about those four shifts.
Yeah, it's a framework that I developed that really allows you to focus. It was developed during the COVID years, and the reason was primarily people were cash strapped. So it's like, okay, what do you have to do to get your head above water and then kind of move forward? And so the four shifts are winning today. The second one is thinking different. The third one is achieving disruptive growth. And the fourth one is gaining high-end independence. And so the idea for win today is making sure you have a good foundation and stability for your business to more effectively set the foundation for future growth. And so it's making sure that you have the cash on hand to invest in things that you want to focus on. And having cash on hand means managing your cash flow, and it means selling more to existing customers or people who trust and know you, because the cycle time will be less and they may have other needs that you can serve. It's reducing your receivables, and it's finding other opportunities to sell things and go vertically or horizontally with what you do. So it's a way to get more cash sooner. Controlling is about managing your costs. So, many people have a lot of fixed costs, but there are a lot of variable costs in your business. And if you're looking at things that aren't contributing directly to your revenue growth or what you're trying to achieve, you can change some of the terms with your vendors or eliminate some of those things as well. And then there's always about connecting and growing your network, staying in front of your existing referral base, staying in front of people who are influencers and partners and customers to be able to find new opportunities where the cycle time is low. So that's the way to win the day: cash in, control, and connect. The second thing is the fun part. It's envisioning and thinking different. So it's stretching what you can think you can do so you know what to focus on. And I built this based upon the Airbnb business model. Airbnb started around the time that Obama became president, where there weren't enough hotel rooms in Washington, D.C. And so they thought maybe we can capture some other real estate that's available that isn't a hotel room as an alternative. And so they started out that way. And then they ran into kind of a little bit of a wall because people were not trusting other people coming into their homes. And so they created more of a filtering system that helped them. But then when they had one of their first kind of strategy meetings, they said, what can we be other than just a substitute for a hotel room? Because if that's the case, we're just competing upon availability and price. And so they looked at different levels of what their business could achieve. And it went from getting a gift basket when you show up to getting greeted by the owner of the Airbnb, to having access to certain activities or restaurants, to even having an astronaut pick you up at the at when you come into town and take you to the moon and then take you to your Airbnb. And obviously that one's pretty remote in terms of it being available, but it's thinking outside the box. And ultimately, what Airbnb did was they realized that this experiences thing, where if somebody went to San Diego, for instance, and they were able to access as part of their Airbnb a surfing experience, or that having an experience wherever you go that you could have access to that could be part of your Airbnb for an upcharge would be welcome. And it became their fastest growing part of their business. And so what I ask people to do is envision like Airbnb about what things could be. And I actually worked with a software training firm that was struggling because budgets were being cut and less people were available to actually travel to this training location. So they had to do things different. And I ran this envisioning exercise because I do strategic facilitation. And they envisioned people being able to work on a project that they could bring back to show value to their employer. Certain certifications that they could get that would enhance their profile and help their employer, even a networking opportunity, and other things. And so having those other things added on to just being a training opportunity allowed them to really advance the business. And so I ask my clients to kind of envision, and they may envision 10 things all the way up to that astronaut thing. And then what they need to do is you have to assess what's possible given your resources, the people that you have, the money that you have, and then you really need to qualify um, to see what will work in the marketplace, and that entails talking to existing customers, prospective customers, influencers, and all the rest, and testing things out. Once you've thought different, then it's about achieving disruptive growth. So it's how to achieve that by prioritizing and pursuing the best opportunities. So it's once you qualify everything and say, okay, this requires more investment but has more of a return. This has more risk but has more of a return. This has less of an investment but has a reasonable return. Which one are we going to prioritize? Because we can't do all of them. And then you have to strategize about how you are going to implement it, and then you have to execute it. So that's achieving that disruptive growth. That's where a lot of the mid-course stuff happens to make sure you stay focused. And then you want to gain high-end independence. It's how can you separate yourself from the day-to-day of the business, make the company more valuable. And a lot of that has to do with systematizing. So it's making your factory or your production most efficient. It's about duplicating your team and looking and making sure that your team has depth. And it's about getting support. It's about having others like coaches like me available to you so you can get outside perspectives as you continue to drive the growth. So those are the 4 shifts. They really work to help provide focus and outcomes, and it's part of the coaching model that I embrace.
Awesome. I love it. I love it, Andy. And I take it that, with what you shared, as you measure everything in between all that, to see how things are moving forward. And is it important, like, when you do this, not only are they measuring on a business owner individually, but they got to measure everything. They got to measure their personal, professional, the team, and organization overall. See of all the KPIs that are important to them, whatever that may be, is that moving forward with that focus?
Well, you can't manage what you can't measure. That's cliche. I know we all have heard of that,
Yep,
right?
yep,
But there's a certain point that you can measure every little thing.
yeah,
And you spend more time gathering information than you do making decisions and acting. So it's again, what are the important metrics that really matter? Um,
exactly.
are you getting enough leads? Um, are you billing enough hours? Um, is your customer satisfaction scores at the level that you want? Are you taking distributions from your firm based upon the amount of money you want to make? All those kinds of things that we can quantify and make adjustments to and kind of understand the health of the business and where it's growing. And I think this. I have an app that was recently developed called Growth Compass, and it's meant to be able to track those things. It's my clients have it. I have interest and I'm going to be offering it to those who don't want to be clients, but who want that application, and allows them to track those things monthly and year to date for all those things that are important to running a business.
Yeah, so important. And I know you'll provide us here later here shortly towards the end. We're getting near the end of the show. How people can learn more about that growth compass, where they can find it, where they can download it, and so on. So as we get near the end of the show, as we're getting close to the end of the show, anything that you want to sum up to kind of connect the dots about today's subject on the power of focus, and again the difference between either taking your business to a whole new valuation to exit at the highest level, to sell your business to a bigger entity, or whatever that objective is, why again that this is so important to give you that edge.
When I work with clients, I tell them, pretend you need investment in your company, and let's say just for grins, it's $100,000. What am I, whether I'm an investor or a banker or somebody else, really going to care about in your business? And the answer is a few things. One is, do you have a good value proposition? The second is, do you have a good existing book of recurring business? The third one is, do you have a good pipeline of incoming business? Fourth one is, do you have a good team?
Yep.
The fifth one is, are your financials in good shape?
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the five primary things that an investor would look at
Yeah.
before investing in a business. So the important thing for everybody is to use that filter and say,
Yep.
am I moving,
Yeah.
if you're a business owner, you should be thinking along the same lines.
Absolutely.
And use that filter and say, is this decision that I'm making, or this action that I'm taking, or these resources that I'm allocating, are
Yep.
they going to help me do better at one of those five things?
Absolutely.
If it's not, then it's busy work or not really value added. And ultimately, it's not going to help your balance sheet. It's not going to help your
Yep.
wallet. It's not going to help your personal or professional
Yep.
growth.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Andy, we're near the end of the show, but this has been valuable information that you've shared. Just really great stuff. I want to make sure people get know how to get in contact with you for business owners, business leaders, high performers, and their businesses. Share with them how they can get in contact with you, and anything else you'd like to share before we conclude the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, first of all. So it's been a pleasure. And I think one of the things to note is that um, because I'm a two-time Inc. 500 business owner. I've seen the movie. I've been there with, there are a lot of coaches out there. They haven't had the experience of having to make payroll, of having to grow teams, of having to sell a business. And so I understand where business owners have been. Um, at the same time, I get results. I'm really bottom line driven. So if people want to work with me, they realize that they'll get the results. And the way that I work with people is, I have an initial consult, and if I can help somebody, um, then that's great. If there are other resources that I could provide to them, I'll do that. And they can best reach out to me through my website. You can schedule an appointment, no obligation. and it's midcourseadvisors.com. It's on, has a lot of information about me and an ability to schedule a call.
Great. Well, Andy, we're going to make sure everybody go to the show notes. All of that information's there. We want to thank you again from myself and everybody from the Sustainable Success team for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today.
You can also connect with me on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us. Make sure you contact Andy, reach out to him on LinkedIn, his website. Again, all of that information is in the show notes. So this way you can reach out, take advantage of this, and then also learn about the growth compass that he has. There's just so many resources and tools that Andy can help you with. Till then, everybody, we want to wish you a rest of you a great rest of your week. Again, we'll be back here next Thursday, same time, with another subject matter expert sharing their words of wisdom and insight to take your business and personal success to the next level. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.